And I did talk to him about it. Because he was on the board of directors of an organization that my wife works for, and I was a little nervous. Because we both couldn't be unemployed after the vote. But I stopped and I said, I asked him, I said, so what part of Australia are you from? I figured, you know, my parents were Australian, he had Australian heritage. This might be a way we could break a little ice and start, you know, a relationship that perhaps was a little less adversarial. And he said, I'm from the parts that voted Labour. I said, well, that's where my mum came from. My dad did too, but his father was a politician that would have been more welcome, I think, in parts of Etobicoke, who broke the family tradition when he moved across the ocean. At any rate, I also noticed that Councillor Mahevik is here, and I know there are a lot of other candidates that are running for office, but I've been told I'm not supposed to speak about politics, so I won't. But if there are politicians here who are seeking office, I see a young Leighton who's a neighbour, so he's a resident. We can mention him, but you can stick your hands up and everyone's going to take note and come and ask you which ward you're running in later. Not that I'm promoting political activity from this. Before I bring Julius's life partner up, I do want to quickly pay respect to two residents that have moved on from this community. If it wasn't for their efforts, there wouldn't be a park in front of this public utility, and there wouldn't be a facade with respect to the heritage of the street on this public utility. It's one of the reasons public utilities are so important to so many of us who do community work, is that they give us a chance to shape their presence in our communities and make them do social good beyond just providing the services that we need from them. And so when Toronto Hydro was here rebuilding the station, they were just going to put a factory wall against this beautiful street. And instead, Louisa Kamen and John Ross, two local neighbors that have led neighborhood associations in this area, fought not just to make that heritage happen, but to make sure that a park was here for neighborhood young people. And now, as we rebuild this for adults who would like to work out. And their presence in this community should be noted, and their contribution is now being built upon with this latest contribution. At this moment, I'd like to bring forward Bob, who is Julius's partner, to say a few words in respect. Paul is giving the instructions. I think she's got a motion. Does she have a second? No. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I think I should thank Julius and his opposition to privatizing the Toronto Hydro. It shows that he had a great deal of foresight in preserving it as a public institution. I also want to correct the mayor and the councillor, is that Julius would not have recommended that you go out canvassing following this event. He would have said, why are you having this stupid event? Why aren't you out canvassing? So you've missed all the time canvassing time this afternoon. Well, you've kind of heard why this Cecil Street is important to Social Democrats, and I think you all know. I think everybody's been to a meeting at the Steelworkers Hall. I think that my car knows how to get here without having to steer it. But it's not just Cecil Street that's why this park is important. There's Huron Street here as well. Huron Street is the street on which Julius and his sister Grace purchased their first house back some 30 years ago. And in fact, Grace still lives on Huron Street with her husband Paul and her 3 children. So there's even more meaning to this location than comes out on first glance. And secondly, I understand that Jack Leighton and his wife Olivia live around the corner, and I think that's very significant as well. And I'll tie that into why I think it's important to be across from the steelworkers. Is that with all the meetings going on at steelworkers, to deal with what happens with Labour, what happens with the New Democratic Party, what happens to the Social Democratic cause in general, is that we want Julius's name here so that when people come out the door and they have a look, they say, or when they're on their way in, they say, geez, I better be careful that you that he'll be there watching us, and we better be pretty firm. We better be pretty solid. He's not going to appreciate any backsliding. So, and that goes for the guy around the corner. I want to introduce Julius' sister Grace, who's over here in the mold. And Grace's husband Paul, who's standing 3 feet behind. And his niece is Jessica is here. I don't know where though. Oh, there, and Mira as well. And niece Julia had to work and couldn't attend. So I just want to sort of wrap it up by saying that come November and come a year from now, and whenever the federal election is that you can remember Julius best by electing the Democrats, by getting out and working for the new Democratic candidates, and making sure that the good people get elected. And that will be the greatest tribute to Julius that would be possible. And the fellow right here, Councillor Pantalone, will make an excellent mayor. And I hope everybody does. We'll take time. So thanks again. Oh, not forget the important thing, is that immediately following the ceremony, there will be food and beverages available across the street, just at the east end of the Steelworkers building. So please continue the party and meeting old friends by moving across the street to the Steelworkers. Thanks a lot for everybody coming out.
Now, before we head to the unveiling of the official plaque at the hall across the street, there will be a chance for people to make very political statements, as this is not what we've been doing up here. We've been simply speaking to the person for whom this park is named, and there are lots of people who deserve credit. And the motion that Paul Fletcher was trying to get onto the floor of this assembly was to, of course, acknowledge Dan Leckie's hard work to support the community in getting this park built. Dan Leckie, of course, another one of the heroes that has led the tremendous combination of community and of politics, of labor, and of diversity that has defined the downtown core for so many years. And so I just also at this point have to, in a very solemn voice, acknowledge that this park was built with federal infrastructure dollars. We invited the Prime Minister. We even told him it was in the Arctic. It still didn't work. But the federal government has provided funds for this park rebuild, as in others. What we tried to do with this park, and what was prevented because of the short time frame, was to have the exercise equipment actually generate electricity and pump it back into the grid. That was in the homage to the Green Jobs Coalition work that Julius was doing right up to the very end. But the federal government didn't quite understand what we were trying to get up to and nix that as far too complicated. But nonetheless, that was one of the objectives. And in the meantime, we'll proceed over to the Blue Velvet Cape, and we'll unveil the park, and then afterwards there'll be more comments from some of the distinguished guests here in